If only that distinction were as clear as we would like it to be. There is the question to what extent economic knowledge is science with a capital S. To me, science relies upon constants and really sort of doesn't try and model social entropic systems, highly complex, open with nonlinear dynamics as engineering equilibria, which is essentially what economics does. And that's part of the reason it kind of gets into trouble. It's not fit for purpose for the system it's examining. Hence the calls that various people are making for a new models and new ways of thinking about economics. Now, do policymakers really do engineering? Well, they'd love to think so, but I'm not sure that they do either. The ability to look up different policy interventions to cure social problem X and look at the requisite RTC score and say, that's the one. I think that's hubris. I don't think that that's really engineering in that sense. So I would sort of question, if you will, those two starting points on this one. And I'd add another one to it, which I think is important. What matters less are the formal models that we work with and more the folk models that are in people's heads. That's what politicians ultimately have, and that's what they respond to. And I'll give you a couple examples of this. Back in 2014, the Bank of England did a quarterly report on how money is made, money creation in the economy. And they basically said, yeah, it's endogenous money. The loanable funds theory is pretty much crap. Really, banks get banking licenses so they can get insurance. Most of the money in circulation is in the form of credit. They pretty much got it backwards. Now, this is hugely consequential as an admission because it means that things you get taught in economics, like crowding out and all the rest of it, are probably deeply flawed. So it matters that politicians know this, right? So, well, of course, they gave that report to all the people in the House of Commons. And then a couple of years later, someone went along and kind of pop quizzed them and said, how's money made? And they're like, well, grandma goes and puts her money in the bank. And then that's loaned out to a firm. So you didn't break the folk model. Right. You can have all the kind of technical knowledge you want. You can have that debate inside the academy and inside policymaking circles. But you've got to be able to actually hit the folk models that are in the heads of policymakers and in the heads of people out in the world. Right. If at the end of the, I'll give you another example of this. MMT theorists love to say that, well, if there's a public sector deficit, that means there's a private sector surplus. So that means that's good because then private sector will pay more. Well, yeah, but causal accounting identities are not causal identities. If you go to Germany, for example, German economists love to point out that the 1979 and 1981 economic advisors reports pointed out that when there was a large budget deficit in Germany, the public saved more rather than spent more. What matters is the behavioral response. And what is it that's priming the behavioral response? It's the folk models in your head, not the formal models that we write down. So I think that those relationships are much more contested and need to be more contested than they actually are.